1 Kings chapters 7 through 9. And Solomon was building his own house 13 years, and he finished all his house. For he built the house of the forest of Lebanon. The length thereof was 100 cubits, and the breadth thereof 50 cubits, and the height thereof 30 cubits, upon 4 rows of cedar pillars, with cedar beams upon the pillars. And it was covered with cedar above over the 45 beams, that were upon the pillars 15 in a row. And there were beams in 3 rows, and window was over against window in 3 ranks. And all the doors and posts were made square with beams, and window was over against window in 3 ranks. And he made the porch of pillars, and the length thereof was 50 cubits, and the breadth thereof 30 cubits, and a porch before them, and pillars and a threshold before them. And he made the porch of the throne where he was to judge, even the porch of judgment, and it was covered with cedar from floor to floor. And his house, where he was to dwell, the other court within the porch, was of the like work. He made also a house for Pharaoh's daughter, whom Solomon had taken to wife, like unto this porch. All these were of costly stones, even of hewn stone, according to measure, sawed with saws within and without, even from the foundation unto the coping, and so on the outside unto the great court. And the foundation was of costly stones, even great stones, stones of 10 cubits, and stones of 8 cubits. And above were costly stones, even hewn stone, according to measure, and cedar wood. And the great court round about had 3 courses of hewn stone, and a course of cedar beams, like as the inner court of the house of Jehovah, and the porch of the house. And King Solomon sent and fetched Hiram out of Tyre. He was the son of a widow of the tribe of Naphtali, and his father was a man of Tyre, a worker in brass. And he was filled with wisdom and understanding and skill to work all works in brass. And he came to King Solomon, and wrought all his work. For he fashioned the 2 pillars of brass, 18 cubits high apiece, and a line of 12 cubits compassed either of them about. And he made 2 capitals of molten brass, to set upon the tops of the pillars. The height of the one capital was 5 cubits, and the height of the other capital was 5 cubits. There were nets of checkerwork, and wreaths of chainwork, for the capitals which were upon the top of the pillars, 7 for the one capital, and 7 for the other capital. So he made the pillars. And there were 2 rows round about upon the one network to cover the capitals that were upon the top of the pillars, and so did he for the other capital. And the capitals that were upon the top of the pillars in the porch were of lily work, 4 cubits. And there were capitals above also upon the pillars, close by the belly which was beside the network. And the pomegranates were 200 in rows round about upon the other capital. And he set up the pillars at the porch of the temple, and he set up the right pillar, and called the name thereof Jachin. And he set up the left pillar, and called the name thereof Boaz. And upon the top of the pillars was lily work, so was the work of the pillars finished. And he made the molten sea of 10 cubits from brim to brim round in compass, and the height thereof was 5 cubits, and a line of 30 cubits compassed it round about. And under the brim of it round about there were knops, which did compass it, for 10 cubits, compassing the sea round about. The knops were in 2 rows, cast when it was cast. It was stood upon 12 oxen, 3 looking toward the north, and 3 looking toward the west, and 3 looking toward the south, and 3 looking upon the east, and the sea was set upon them above, and all their hinder parts were inward. And it was a handbreadth thick, and the brim thereof was wrought like the brim of a cup, like the flower of a lily. It held 2,000 baths. And he made the 10 bases of brass. 4 cubits was the length of one base, and 4 cubits the breadth thereof, and 3 cubits the height of it. And the work of the bases was on this manner. They had panels, and there were panels between the ledges, and on the panels that were between the ledges were lions, oxen, and cherubim, and upon the ledges there was a pedestal above, and beneath the lions and oxen were wreaths of hanging work. And every base had 4 brazen wheels and axles of brass, and the 4 feet thereof had undersetters. Beneath the laver were the undersetters molten, with wreaths at the side of each. And the mouth of it within the capital and above was a cubit, and the mouth thereof was round about after the work of a pedestal, 1.5 cubits, and also upon the mouth of it were gravings, and their panels were 4 square, not round. And the 4 wheels were underneath the panels, and the axle trees of the wheels were in the base, and the height of a wheel was 1.5 cubits. And the work of the wheels was like the work of a chariot wheel. Their axle trees and their felloes and their spokes and their naves were all molten. And there were 4 undersetters at the 4 corners of each base. The undersetters thereof were of the base itself, and in the top of the base was there a round compass 1/2 cubit high, and on the top of the base the stays thereof and the panels thereof were of the same. And on the plates of the stage thereof, and on the panels thereof he graved cherubim, lions, and palm trees, according to the space of each, with wreaths round about. After this manner he made the 10 bases. All of them had one casting, one measure, and one form. And he made 10 lavers of brass. One laver contained 40 baths, and every laver was 4 cubits, and upon every one of the 10 bases one laver. And he set the bases, 5 on the right side of the house, and 5 on the left side of the house. And he set the sea on the right side of the house, eastward toward the south. And Hiram made the lavers, and the shovels, and the basins. So Hiram made an end of doing all the work that he wrought for King Solomon in the house of Jehovah. The 2 pillars and the 2 bowls of the capitals that were on the tops of the pillars, and the 2 networks to cover the 2 bowls of the capitals that were on the top of the pillars, and the 400 pomegranates for the 2 networks, 2 rows of pomegranates for each network, to cover the 2 bowls of the capitals that were upon the pillars, and the 10 bases and the 10 lavers on the bases, and the 1 sea and the 12 oxen under the sea, and the pots and the shovels and the basins, even all these vessels, which Hiram made for King Solomon, in the house of Jehovah, were of burnished brass. In the plain of the Jordan did the king cast them, in the clay ground between Succoth and Zarethan. And Solomon left all the vessels unweighed, because they were exceeding many. The weight of the brass could not be found out. And Solomon made all the vessels that were in the house of Jehovah, the golden altar and the table whereupon the showbread was of gold, and the candlesticks, 5 on the right side and 5 on the left, before the oracle of pure gold, and the flowers and the lamps and the tongs of gold, and the cups and the snuffers, and the basins and the spoons and the fire pans of pure gold, and the hinges both for the doors of the inner house, the most holy place, and for the doors of the house, to wit, of the temple, of gold. Thus all the work that King Solomon wrought in the house of Jehovah was finished. And Solomon brought in the things which David his father had dedicated, even the silver and the gold, and the vessels, and put them in the treasuries of the house of Jehovah. And Solomon assembled the elders of Israel, and all the heads of the tribes, the princes of the fathers' houses of the children of Israel, unto King Solomon in Jerusalem, to bring up the ark of the covenant of Jehovah out of the city of David, which is Zion. And all the men of Israel assembled themselves unto the king Solomon at the feast in the month of Ethanim, which is the 7th month. And all the elders of Israel came, and the priests took up the ark. And they brought up the ark of Jehovah and the tent of meeting, and all the holy vessels that were in the tent. Even these did the priests and the Levites bring up. And King Solomon and all the congregation of Israel that were assembled unto him were with him before the ark, sacrificing sheep and oxen that could not be counted nor numbered for multitude. And the priests brought in the ark of the covenant of Jehovah unto its place, into the oracle of the house, to the most holy place, even under the wings of the cherubim. For the cherubim spread forth their wings over the place of the ark, and the cherubim covered the ark and the staves thereof above. And the staves were so long that the ends of the staves were seen from the holy place before the oracle, but they were not seen without, and there they are unto this day. There was nothing in the ark save the 2 tables of stone which Moses put there at Horeb, when Jehovah made a covenant with the children of Israel, when they came out of the land of Egypt. And it came to pass, when the priests were come out of the holy place, that the cloud filled the house of Jehovah, so that the priests could not stand to minister by reason of the cloud, for the glory of Jehovah filled the house of Jehovah. Then spake Solomon, Jehovah hath said that he would dwell in the thick darkness. I have surely built thee a house of habitation, a place for thee to dwell in forever. And the king turned his face about, and blessed all the assembly of Israel, and all the assembly of Israel stood. And he said, Blessed be Jehovah, the God of Israel, who spake with his mouth unto David my father, and hath with his hand fulfilled it, saying, Since the day that I brought forth my people Israel out of Egypt, I chose no city out of all the tribes of Israel to build a house, that my name might be there. But I chose David to be over my people Israel. Now it was in the heart of David my father to build a house for the name of Jehovah, the God of Israel. But Jehovah said unto David my father, Whereas it was in thy heart to build a house for my name, thou didst well that it was in thy heart. Nevertheless, thou shalt not build the house, but thy son that shall come forth out of thy loins, he shall build the house for my name. And Jehovah hath established his word that he spake. For I am risen up in the room of David my father, and sit on the throne of Israel, as Jehovah promised, and have built the house for the name of Jehovah, the God of Israel. And there have I set a place for the ark. wherein is the covenant of Jehovah, which he made with our fathers, when he brought them out of the land of Egypt. And Solomon stood before the altar of Jehovah in the presence of all the assembly of Israel, and spread forth his hands toward heaven. And he said, O Jehovah, the God of Israel, there is no God like thee, in heaven above or on earth beneath, who keepest covenant and loving kindness with thy servants that walk before thee with all their heart, who hast kept with thy servant David, my father, that which thou didst promise him. Yea, thou spakest with thy mouth, and hast fulfilled it with thy hand, as it is this day. Now therefore, O Jehovah, the God of Israel, keep with thy servant David, my father, that which thou hast promised him, saying, There shall not fail thee a man in my sight to sit on the throne of Israel, if only thy children take heed to their way, to walk before me as thou hast walked before me. Now therefore, O God of Israel, let thy word, I pray thee, be verified, which thou spakest unto thy servant David, my father. But will God in very deed dwell on the earth? Behold, heaven and the heaven of heavens cannot contain thee, how much less this house that I have builded. Yet have thou respect unto the prayer of thy servant, and to his supplication, O Jehovah my God, to hearken unto the cry and to the prayer which thy servant prayeth before thee this day, that thine eyes may be opened toward this house night and day, even toward the place whereof thou hast said, My name shall be there, to hearken unto the prayer which thy servant shall pray toward this place. And hearken thou to the supplication of thy servant and of thy people Israel, when they shall pray toward this place. Yea, hear thou in heaven thy dwelling place, and when thou hearest, forgive. If a man sin against his neighbor, and an oath be laid upon him to cause him to swear, and he come and swear before thine altar in this house, then hear thou in heaven, and do and judge thy servants, condemning the wicked, to bring his way upon his own head, and justifying the righteous, to give him according to his righteousness. When thy people Israel are smitten down before the enemy, because they have sinned against thee, if they turn again to thee, and confess thy name, and pray and make supplication unto thee in this house, then hear thou in heaven, and forgive the sin of thy people Israel, and bring them again unto the land which thou gavest unto their fathers. When heaven is shut up, and there is no rain, because they have sinned against thee, if they pray toward this place, and confess thy name, and turn from their sin when thou dost afflict them, then hear thou in heaven, and forgive the sin of thy servants and of thy people Israel, when thou teachest them the good way wherein they should walk, and send rain upon thy land, which thou hast given to thy people for an inheritance. If there be in the land famine, if there be pestilence, if there be blasting or mildew, locust or caterpillar, if their enemy besiege them in the land of their cities, whatsoever plague, whatsoever sickness there be, what prayer and supplication soever be made by any man or by all thy people Israel, who shall know every man the plague of his own heart, and spread forth his hands toward heaven, toward this house, then hear thou in heaven thy dwelling place, and forgive, and do, and render unto every man according to all his ways, whose heart thou knowest. For thou, even thou only, knowest the hearts of all the children of men, that they may fear thee all the days that they live in the land which thou gavest unto our fathers. Moreover, concerning the foreigner that is not of thy people Israel, when he shall come out of a far country for thy name's sake, for they shall hear of thy great name, and of thy mighty hand, and of thine outstretched arm, when he shall come and pray toward this house, hear thou in heaven thy dwelling place, and do according to all that the foreigner calleth to thee for, that all the peoples of the earth may know thy name, to fear thee, as doth thy people Israel, and that they may know that this house which I have built is called by thy name. If thy people go out to battle against their enemy, by whatsoever way thou shalt send them, and they pray unto Jehovah toward the city which thou hast chosen, and toward the house which I have built for thy name, then hear thou in heaven their prayer and their supplication, and maintain their cause. If they sin against thee, for there is no man that sinneth not, and thou be angry with them, and deliver them to the enemy, so that they carry them away captive unto the land of the enemy, far off or near. Yet if they shall bethink themselves in the land whither they are carried captive, and turn again, and make supplication unto thee in the land of them that carried them captive, saying, We have sinned, and have done perversely, we have dealt wickedly, if they turn unto thee with all their heart and with all their soul in the land of their enemies, who carried them captive, and pray unto thee toward their land, which thou gavest unto their fathers, the city which thou hast chosen, and the house which I have built for thy name, then hear thou their prayer and their supplication in heaven thy dwelling place, and maintain their cause. And forgive thy people who have sinned against thee, and all their transgressions wherein they have transgressed against thee, and give them compassion before those who carried them captive, that they may have compassion on them. For they are thy people, and thine inheritance, which thou broughtest forth out of Egypt, from the midst of the furnace of iron. That thine eyes may be opened unto the supplication of thy servant, and unto the supplication of thy people Israel, to hearken unto them whensoever they cry unto thee. For thou didst separate them from among all the peoples of the earth, to be thine inheritance, as thou speakest by Moses thy servant, when thou broughtest our fathers out of Egypt, O Lord Jehovah. And it was so, that when Solomon had made an end of praying all this prayer and supplication unto Jehovah, he arose from before the altar of Jehovah, from kneeling on his knees with his hands spread forth toward heaven. And he stood, and blessed all the assembly of Israel with a loud voice, saying, Blessed be Jehovah, that hath given rest unto his people Israel. According to all that he promised, there hath not failed one word of all his good promise, which he promised by Moses his servant. Jehovah our God be with us, as he was with our fathers. Let him not leave us nor forsake us, that he may incline our hearts unto him, to walk in all his ways, and to keep his commandments and his statutes and his ordinances, which he commanded our fathers. And let these words, my words, wherewith I have made supplication before Jehovah, be nigh unto Jehovah our God day and night, that he maintain the cause of his servant, and the cause of his people Israel, as every day shall require. That all the peoples of the earth may know that Jehovah, he is God, there is none else. Let your heart therefore be perfect with Jehovah our God, to walk in his statutes, and to keep his commandments, as at this day. And the king and all Israel with him offered sacrifice before Jehovah. And Solomon offered for the sacrifice of peace offerings, which he offered unto Jehovah, 22,000 oxen, and 120,000 sheep. So the king and all the children of Israel dedicated the house of Jehovah. The same day did the king hallow the middle of the court that was before the house of Jehovah. For there he offered the burnt offering, and the meal offering, and the fat of the peace offerings, because the brazen altar that was before Jehovah was too little to receive the burnt offering, and the meal offering, and the fat of the peace offerings. So Solomon held the feast at that time, and all Israel with him, a great assembly, from the entrance of Hamath unto the brook of Egypt, before Jehovah our God, 7 days, and 7 days, even 14 days. On the 8th day he sent the people away, and they blessed the king, and went unto their tents joyful and glad of heart, for all the goodness that Jehovah had showed unto David his servant, and to Israel his people. And it came to pass, when Solomon had finished the building of the house of Jehovah, and the king's house, and all Solomon's desire which he was pleased to do, that Jehovah appeared to Solomon the second time, as he had appeared unto him at Gibeon. And Jehovah said unto him, I have heard thy prayer and thy supplication, that thou hast made before me. I have hallowed this house, which thou hast built, to put my name there forever, and mine eyes and my heart shall be there perpetually. And as for thee, if thou wilt walk before me as David thy father walked, in integrity of heart, and in uprightness, to do according to all that I have commanded thee, and wilt keep my statutes and mine ordinances, then I will establish the throne of thy kingdom over Israel forever, according as I promised to David thy father, saying, There shall not fail thee a man upon the throne of Israel. But if ye shall turn away from following me, ye or your children, and not keep my commandments and my statutes which I have set before you, but shall go and serve other gods and worship them, then will I cut off Israel out of the land which I have given them. And this house which I have hallowed for my name will I cast out of my sight, and Israel shall be a proverb and a byword among all peoples. And though this house is so high, yet shall every one that passeth by it be astonished, and shall hiss, and they shall say, Why hath Jehovah done this unto this land and to this house? And they shall answer, Because they forsook Jehovah their God, who brought forth their fathers out of the land of Egypt, and laid hold on other gods, and worshipped them, and served them. Therefore hath Jehovah brought all this upon them. And it came to pass at the end of 20 years, wherein Solomon had built the 2 houses, the house of Jehovah and the king's house. Now Hiram the king of Tyre had furnished Solomon with cedar trees and fir trees, and with gold, according to all his desire. That then King Solomon gave Hiram 20 cities in the land of Galilee. And Hiram came out from Tyre to see the cities which Solomon had given him, and they pleased him not. And he said, What cities are these which thou hast given me, my brother? And he called them the land of Cabul unto this day. And Hiram sent to the king 60 talents of gold. And this is the reason of the levy which King Solomon raised to build the house of Jehovah, and his own house, and Millo, and the wall of Jerusalem, and Hazor, and Megiddo, and Gezer. Pharaoh king of Egypt had gone up and taken Gezer, and burnt it with fire, and slain the Canaanites that dwelt in the city, and given it for a portion unto his daughter, Solomon's wife. And Solomon built Gezer, and Beth-horon the nether, and Baalath, and Tamar in the wilderness in the land, and all the store cities that Solomon had, and the cities for his chariots, and the cities for his horsemen, and that which Solomon desired to build for his pleasure in Jerusalem and in Lebanon, and all the land of his dominion. As for all the people that were left of the Amorites, the Hittites, the Perizzites, the Hivites, and the Jebusites, who were not of the children of Israel, their children that were left after them in the land, whom the children of Israel were not able utterly to destroy, of them did Solomon raise a levy of bondservants unto this day. But of the children of Israel did Solomon make no bondservants, but they were the men of war, and his servants, and his princes, and his captains, and rulers of his chariots, and of his horsemen. These were the chief officers that were over Solomon's work, 550, who bare rule over the people that wrought in the work. But Pharaoh's daughter came up out of the city of David unto her house, which Solomon had built for her. Then did he build Millo. And 3 times in a year did Solomon offer burnt offerings and peace offerings upon the altar which he built unto Jehovah, burning incense therewith upon the altar that was before Jehovah. So he finished the house. And King Solomon made a navy of ships in Ezion-Geber, which is beside Eloth, on the shore of the Red Sea, in the land of Edom. And Hiram sent in the navy his servants, shipmen that had knowledge of the sea, with the servants of Solomon. And they came to Ophir, and fetched from thence gold, 420 talents, and brought it to King Solomon.